Welcome to the very first podcast of this channel. Very first one that I've ever done. This is going to be a one-man show. Because who'd want to associate with me? Anyhow, I'm going to rank I'm going to rank all anime I watched that is from 2021 this year. It's 24 total shows. I've ranked them. I'll talk about each of them individually. Why they're there. Do a quick some quick analyzing. That'll be the whole idea behind this podcast. Number 24 is Home, the most unmemorable of the whole list. It is literally 76 minutes. It is about this astronaut who goes to this planet and finds this wreckage, goes in there to see the dead girl. He runs into the girl's ghost. She starts chasing him. He's running around trying to get out of the ship. Towards the end, they end up forming a bond. It's very short, 7 minutes. Animation is it's CGI. It's average CGI. The story it's amusing. Nothing special really. This is part of a trilogy, I believe. I only watched this one though because it was the only one that looked appealing to me. Of course, this would be a 24 dead last because it's only 7 minutes. It doesn't have much to offer. It didn't really do anything extraordinary with those 7 minutes. I wouldn't recommend it unless you like watching short stories. That's all there is to this. Also, I am going to be on my anime list for convenience. And I'm not going to be on the app because my anime list has a very horrible app. It's terrible. It's buggy. It doesn't work properly. I do not like it. 23. Shadow House. Shadow House is a series about little girls cleaning houses for 15 minutes. That is the first 2 episodes. The anime is very boring. It's supposed to be a mystery series. It's supposed to have all these great big mysteries about the Shadow House, yet it rarely ever really explores them. To be honest, it revolves around these dolls or these shadows that belong to the Shadow House, and they have these dolls that they're supposed to work with and sort of synchronize with. And towards the end, there will be spoilers, by the way, in case you're not. I didn't make it clear enough by the description. But these shadows hang around with these dolls, and they try to synchronize, and they try to live out the agenda of the Shadow House. Of course, it turns out that this Shadow House is the upper higher management. They are enslaving the humans with tea, this mind-controlling tea, to lure the adult kids in, turn them into said dolls, making obedient to the shadows, which in the end end up, I believe, taking their bodies over or something like that. All at the same time, there is a reach for power going on in the hierarchy. I think his name was Edward, the deranged man that's always smiling. Yes, here's the cast of very forgettable characters. Yeah, so you have your shadows, you have your dolls. Honestly, they did not even bother to put all the characters in. Well, here's Edward. Yeah, Edward, he has this goal to be at the third floor of the Shadow House with the great grandfather. He wants power. To do it, he tries to run these games where he makes the initiation, you could say, where the dolls and the shadows have these competitions, and if those that are too weak, they end up getting discarded, you could say. From what I can recall, well, you have Emeliko, who is your main character, your typical, bubbly, happy, joyful, little cute girl type protagonist. She's this very moral force that always tries to do the right thing and do it no matter what. You already know the tale about that. She has her shadow, which is Kate, and together, because of the way that Emeliko is, Kate and the rest of the shadows end up questioning the Shadow House. They end up seeing things differently, which lead to all of them rebelling. So there's a rebellion between all of them. You have some that have very, very ridiculous powers. You have Which one was it? I think John was the one with the super strength. He literally punches a boulder into pieces. You have Patrick with, I think it was the one that explodes. Could be the other way around. You have Ricky, who was very smug until he ended up being portrayed as a coward. But the problem with the show is that the first 2 episodes, it didn't feel like this great mystery type of show. It was literally little girls cleaning houses for 15 minutes. It was boring. There's just nothing really compelling or mysterious about the writing. Nothing at all. I didn't really enjoy this. To make things worse, towards the end of the series, the staff at Cloverworks, Cloverworks, they decided to go for an anime only ending, which makes no sense to me, because they announced a season 2. Now maybe they didn't know, maybe they thought that it would end at one core, but Shadow House will be getting a season 2, and it has an ongoing manga. So now they got to figure out how to start season 2, despite that season 1 had an anime only ending. Now they could do what Ashura no Joe did, which is they can go back to whenever they left off on the manga in the first season and just pick up from there in the second season, unless they want to try to force their way to make the anime only ending canon. So they got to figure out, the staff has to figure out what they're going to do with this show, because it you saw it happened to Promised Neverland, and this was Shadow House was another victim of them, because they say the manga is so good, and yet the adaptation just ruined it. I will be watching season 2 though. Yeah, at the end it's implied that Emiliko drank the tea again. So I don't know how they're gonna get around that. Other than that, it had possibly, I think it had the opening and the ending of the season. Very great opening and ending themes. Animation it's whatever really. I mean, it's easy. They're just drawing a bunch of black patches. Yeah, that's all I have for that. I just don't care for this series. It took me like a month or 2 to watch the final episode. I just felt no motivation to really watch this. Yeah, so for a mystery, it wasn't really much of a mystery. For all these shadows having powers, they didn't really do a good job executing how these powers work, what they did, the wonder behind them. I could go on and on and on. The actual soundtrack to the anime series itself, besides the opening and ending, was pretty mediocre. It's just not a very enjoyable series. 22, Scarlet Nexus. This anime is almost offensive in what it's doing. It's to promote a game by the same name called Scarlet Nexus. And this game is like 6 different sci-fi plots smashed together with the same cast. It's trying to do so many different things, and it does every single one of those things horribly. Put it this way. Scarlet Nexus is about this guy who called Yoitsu, who has these very strong psychokinesis powers that cause a giant portal to open up in the middle of the sky, and the more that he uses his powers, the larger it gets, which leads to the end of the world. At the same time, you have these, humans somehow got to the moon, and the people that went to the moon went into a sleep for 2,000 years and came back for revenge. Now tie that into time traveling shenanigans, where Yoito in the future causes the end of the world and gets so guilty he ends up offering himself to the others. It gets torn apart. So the main character must die. Put that together with characters getting brainwashed, memories altered. Put that together with different cities, factions fighting each other. Put that together with the main cast splitting in half, fighting each other for a moment. Put that together with, oh, my best friend is brainwashed and I must save him. Now put it together with, oh, my sister is turning into an udder, I must save her. And it just goes on and on and on. The story just tries to do so many things at the same time. It just becomes a giant coordinated mess of a story where nothing really seems to make sense. Not only that, Yoito is a very annoying main character. Always makes the worst possible choices. And then you have Kasane, who went to the future, saw that she needs to kill Yoito, But when she comes back to the present, she doesn't tell anybody her plan. She doesn't tell nobody. She knows that she must tell everybody that Yuito is the cause of the end of the world and that he must be dead for that portal to stop it all. But she doesn't tell nobody. Even the characters themselves tell her at some point, like, why are you not telling us the deal with you trying to kill Yuito? It's just a horrifying mess. The fighting is very bad, as you would expect from a game adaptation. The fights tend to be still screen images, sometimes with screaming, just random light effects that look like nothing. A lot of the fights are off screen. It's just the animation on the fights is just so lazy. It's so lazy. It's sad. The soundtrack itself is horrible, not good at all. The first opening was acceptable. This new opening and ending is just not the best, really. It's just disgusting. It's a disgusting series. Don't ever watch this. And the best part about it is that it's gonna run for 26 episodes. Funimation confirmed 26 episodes a while back. So I still got another 12 episodes left. Last episode, they finally resolved the arc with Yuito's best friend, Nagi. He dies. His brain collapses or something like that. Now, the powers are another thing. The powers don't... I don't like the powers in this series because they're meant... They feel like they're more meant to be plot devices than actual powers to be used in some really cool-looking fighting. I mean, the powers are what? You can teleport whatever you touch. You can look into the future. You can hack whatever you want. And then everybody is like betraying everybody, which was kind of funny. Like Kyoka ends up being a traitor, and then she ends up not being a traitor. One of these kids ends up actually being 2,000 years old on a mission to get revenge of the humans, because he's from the moon colony. It's just ridiculous. I mean, the only person that really seems to... The only person that I really seem to like in this series is Arashi, the hacker. She's the only thing that is keeping this show bearable for me. Karen's pretty cool too. He's the guy that wants to rebel against one of the cities because of the others. And so the others, that's another thing I even talk about that's big. The others are these giant, horribly animated CGI monsters that were chosen to have the most poorly designed monster designs I've ever seen in a series. Look at this. We got these monsters. It's literally a giant vase of flowers with legs, and they run around like they're having a seizure. And the way they fight, they don't even fight. They just kind of like step on people. Afterwards, there's a plot twist. Oh, some of the others are actually humans, and another plot twist. One of the factions is trying to turn the others back into humans because somebody else was turning humans into others, and the plot is just so all over the place. It's a terrible series. Don't ever bother with it. I watched it so you won't have to. 21. Oh gosh, Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0, Thrice upon a time. This is one of the worst films I've ever watched, and unfortunately it happens to be an Evangelion film. Now, the rebuilds have been controversial since the third one because they completely altered the story in a way where all the characters lose their original selves. Misato is no longer Misato, so on and so on and so on. So in the newest film, I made a video about this movie when it first came out. It's almost at 100 dislikes. But I was trying to talk about fair criticism, nothing out of the ordinary, just fair criticism about why I didn't like about it. Come on, the story is nonsense. The CGI is nonsense. Come on, they turned Gendo into a Cyclops. Shinji does nothing for the first hour. The whole budget on animation was spent on scenes like Asuka trying to make Shinji eat. This is just... It was so bad, it was good, and I was laughing throughout this entire movie. I was horrified at that giant Ray CGI head. It was so bad. Sagisu, of course, performed a great soundtrack. Very great soundtrack. One of the few redeeming qualities about it is the music. That's about the only redeeming quality. Other than that, there was a lot of fan service, because more than I thought. That I don't know. And no, Evangelion is not over. They're gonna keep milking this because it's gonna always make money. Ano will be gone. Somebody else is gonna take over Evangelion. But the movie was terrible. It was so much bad. They had like literal PowerPoint presentation part sequences. It was what's the name of that guy? I can't believe I'm already forgetting his name. Fuyutsuki? Yeah, Fuyutsuki. He literally stands on the platform for the whole movie until he randomly bursts into liquid. And then you have Mary, the character that makes everybody angry because she came out of nowhere and she wins the Shinji Bowl. And at the end, everybody has salary jobs and I guess they're happy ever after. Terrible film. Don't watch it. Don't bother. Rebuilds were a mistake. Number 20, Jouran, the Princess of Snow and Blood. This was one of those. This is one of those series that has so many plot twists. You just don't know what's gonna happen. It started off as a revenge story, which resolved itself within the first 5 episodes. So now you're thinking, what's gonna happen now? Sawa already got her revenge. She killed the old man. And then it turns out that they're after her because of her blood. And then you have Asahi, the little girl. She gets killed, well, supposedly killed, and then comes back. See, the thing about this series is that they had good characters, but they ruined them towards the end. There's Tsukimoto, the one that was a woman, the one that was shown as a man but ended up being a woman. I like Tsukimoto's character, Tsukishiro. Sorry, I like Tsukishiro's character. I like how she had this giant plan to help Sawa, even though she would appear as bad sometimes. But then guess what? It turns out she takes the blue blood, and she turns into this monster. And the art in this series can be really beautiful at times. But when Tsukishiro turned to that bird thing, it was drawn so hideously. It didn't even feel like art from the show. It was so bad. And then you have Hanakaze, who has a whip that is Looney Tunes tier that she uses on the bad guys, you could say. She can, what was it? She could deflect bullets with it or something. It just made no sense how the whip worked. Sawa herself was always pouting and angry, crying, aimless. Didn't think she ever had a purpose in life. Kuzuhara is a character that they should have built upon much more early in the series, because towards the first couple of episodes he seemed like a hollow cardboard cutout of a character, because he was so serious and into the mission, but they never explained why to the very end. And he decides to die with all the enemies and burn down with the building. He should have lived. What a fool he was. Asahi becomes the next Sawa. That was strange. Takemichi is the one that has the metal blades that come out of her body. She is this drunk that kind of wanders around. She ends up helping Sawa, then ends up trying to kill Sawa, and then Sawa almost killed her, but decides to not kill her. But then she comes back and then she kills Sawa. And yeah, Sawa dying. It was a tragedy to see her to see Sawa go, but it was her own mistake. Should have killed the metal woman. But the series was just there were at least 3 good episodes in the series, but just the twists and turns, the plot twists, the bad writing mixed into it, the really, really bad music. In the beginning, when Kuzuhara would talk to Sawa about the missions, they would play this jazz song that sounded so bad it made the whole scene funny, even though it was supposed to be serious. And the fights, of course, were boring. They looked beautifully animated, but there was nothing special to the fights. But terrible series. You felt like it was going to get good, and then it doesn't. Number 19 is Mars Red. Mars Red is a series about vampires in the military. The gimmick that this series is that it's based on a stage play. This series did an amazing job in the first episode. The music was great, the way it was used. I liked how it tried to look like a stage play. For example, when Maeda and the other officer would walk through the underground dungeon, I guess you could say, the spotlights would come on to Maeda when he talked, and then the other spotlight would come on to the other person that would talk. It was extremely poetic. With Maeda's love interest, Misaki, the poem that she recited about 20 times in this one episode. The first episode was just so much different from all the others. I suppose it had its own staff, but it was just so great. The story of Maeda seeing his loved one lose her mind, become murderous, and then sort of find some kind of peace at the end. But then, as Maeda looks on, she gets disintegrated by the sun. And of course, that has to do with Deflot. Deflot is an extremely old vampire that is tired of being alive. Because the show kind of plays on the immortality of vampires, how they kind of want to die at some point, how living forever isn't all that. You see everybody die and this and that. And you have Kurusu, who became the main character halfway through, but his character was so shallow and not very well explored or developed. When his episodes came out, they were the worst episodes. It was boring. Suwa is just edgy. There's nothing really to say about Suwa. Takeuchi didn't even look like he fit into the series at all. Now Yamagami was a good guy. He was a great guy. He was an old friend of Maeda. And they have their moments, such as when Maeda gets impaled by a pole and Yamagami goes to save him and sacrifices himself to get the debris off of Maeda, because to move the debris would have meant for Yamagami to move into the sun, and he did it on purpose to save Maeda, and he burns up. Great character. He was involved in some of the best episodes. And then, where is that? Oh, then there's Shirase. Shirase is the journalist. Her English dub voice actor is so obnoxious, I cannot watch the dub. And then we have Rufus. Rufus is one of the villains that probably must have felt the most embarrassed out of all the villains of all time. This guy gets tossed off a boat, and the animation of him falling into the boat was so bad, I was just laughing. I had to rewind and watch it again. I was just laughing, man. Rufus was portrayed as this great, cocky. He appeared like he was powerful, but he was actually very, very weak, and he had this big plan to move into power, control these CGI vampires, and in the end, Deflot throws him off a boat, and his head gets larger as he's falling more and more into the water. It was funny. I think I might just put up the last episode again, just so I could watch Rufus fall into the water again. It was just hilarious. But the series, it was half the episodes were just irrelevant, not worth watching. If this would have been a 6-episode series that would have focused on the better episodes, and if they would have switched the order around, because the episodes timelines are just switched around. They go back to the past at some point, where they should have done that earlier. But if they would have taken the worst half out and kept the best half in, and just would have done like a 6-episode series of Mars Red, I think it would have been significantly better. They should have kept the style of episode 1, because they didn't really ever bring it back till the last episode. Mars Red had a very strong finish, a very good finish, a very good ending to wrap it all up as Maeda passes away, seemingly so, and Kurusu disappears. I wanted this to be good, because I liked what it was doing, but it fell apart in execution, and it embarrassed itself. Number 18, Blue Reflection Ray. Blue Reflection Ray. This is a series that promotes a game by the same name, Blue Reflection. This actually ran for 24 episodes, which surprised me. It was very average. It is very slow paced. It's like a slice of life, you could say, with some magical girl. At the end, it tries to be like horror mystery. It revolves around these reflectors. And oops, I'm gonna go ahead and skip that. So this series is about feelings. It asks the viewers the question: should humans have feelings? Should they not have feelings? Let me take off this mask. Half the reflectors say no, you don't need feelings because feelings are what make humans suffer. They hold us back. Let's get rid of our feelings. And so these reflectors, led by Shiro, you have Uta, the star of the show. They go around taking girls' emotions, and the show answers this for you by showing you that these girls without feelings end up losing their minds trying to get hit by cars on purpose. Then you have Hirahara and Fuka and the rest that they believe that humans need feelings, that feelings are what help humans develop and grow, and feel like they have something to go for in life. Now, I get it, but they did not need to remind me about this in every single episode. At the end, one of the girls, Shino, she had this very dark past where she was being raised in a cult with her twin sister, where the mom ends up killing one of them and making the other one drink her blood, and then the other sister jumps off a building, and all these negative energies come around, and Shino becomes the antagonist. Though really they're trying to save her because of her own feelings and her own past. But really, and you have Nina. See, Nina's voice actor sounded way too old for that character. But anyhow, the star of the show is Uta. Uta is the most exciting character of the series because of how wild her personality is. She's always flirting with the girls, and she has this thing. She's a sadist. She loves pain. Now throw her into this bunch of sort of awkwardly shy girls, and she really spices up any scene that she's in. She ends up getting hit by a frying pan. That's the ending that Uta gets. And then by the end of it, the world gets resetted or something like that, and some characters get their mind wiped. Once the series is over, you see a loading screen because you're supposed to play the sequel of Blue Reflection called Blue Reflection Tai. That's gonna come up pretty soon. If you want to know what happens next, because some of these characters come out there, such as Hirahara and Mio and Uta. So the story goes on for Blue Reflection Ray. Unfortunately, you must play the game to find out. But the series was very average. It was very strong towards the middle of the series, but towards the end, it was very underwhelming, very average. Number 17, One Direct Priority. The only reason why One Direct Priority is even number 17 is because of its first episode. One Direct Priority had one of the best first episodes of the year. It put everything into its first episode. All the best music, animation, all that. It threw everything in episode 1, and then just slowly went downhill from there. There were production issues. They were forced to do a recap and rewrite the ending. They had a special that I didn't even talk about because you should already know, if you kept up with this, what the special was. What was the deal with the special? I never talked about it because it was just outright horrifying what that special did. So disappointing. So the show ended up writing itself into a hole, and then it kept writing and towards the end, instead of wrapping up the characters, the stories, the plots, the plot holes, it decided to make more plot holes and decided to write even more plot into the plot, and the plot became so big and never got resolved, and that's how you left it. Will there be a season 2? I think that this show has embarrassed itself so much, I don't think it's possible for it to come back anymore. A shame, because it started off so promising. And it's about these girls that when they go to sleep, they go into this sort of dreamlike world where they go in and they help girls that had very violent pasts who end up committing suicide. A big part of the series is trying to is social commentary on depression, abuse, things like that. It tries to be diverse in its characters, its representation, diversity. That's what the series was about. Because of that, it attracted a very ugly crowd from the political side of the internet. The music for this is amazing. Unfortunately, it isn't used very much as much as I would have thought. I did buy the soundtrack because the music was just that good. If you're gonna watch One Leg Priority, just watch episode 1 and just stop there. There's no point going any further than episode 1. But this anime was just a complete mistake. I mean, come on, what do you got? You got Neru, who at the very end ended up being a robot. You have Momoe, who went psychotic. Rika, who went psychotic. You have Oto Ai at the end, who says, "I'll be back," and smiles at the screen that breaks the fourth wall. It's like, you're not gonna be back. You're never gonna come back. They introduced Frill, so it went sci-fi out of nowhere with Frill, this robot girl that got made that ends up becoming a serial killer. And no matter what the Aka and Aka tried to do, she would keep coming back, and apparently she was the root cause of all these suicides. And then she has control over these 3 girls that have flowers for head. One of them has like a very long Hispanic name, Latino name, and they never really get to the bottom of what they were. They show up and they kill the Pokemon, the little pets, and then they go away. Yeah, I mean, they were creepy, they were unsettling, but what happened? Where are they? Why didn't they bring them back at least in the special? You have Awano, who reminded me a lot of Kuwaro. And you have Nagase, who... There's this really strange thing that went on between Nagase, Ai, and Sensei. But then you have to venture into parallel worlds at that point. So anyways, the special... First of all, okay, I'm going to talk about the special. Just because I never did it. Because I didn't make a video on it because people had already done it. And I thought I wouldn't be saying anything new. But... for the sake of this podcast, in the special, it was 45 minutes long, so everybody thought, cool, we got a nice, like half-size movie episode to wrap up everything, tie in all the loose ends, conclude everything, fill in the plot holes, find out the secret between, is Sensei a predator or not, and the first 25 minutes were filler, which was just completely unnecessary. So the production... This is Cloverworks, by the way. The same studio that ruined Shadow House. Thus, they must have had the same issue they had when the series first came out. That being that they were out of time. And so they had to make the majority of the special a recap, which was just so frustratingly annoying. It was just better they just left the series just unanswered, just the way it was. Anyhow, when the special starts, it proceeds to add even more plot. It proceeds to make the viewers ask even more questions. So by the end of the special, you are now filled with even more questions, like what is going on. So it was just a horrible special, terrible show. I would recommend just to watch episode 1 because it was very good, but don't dare venture any more than episode 1. Number 16, Mushoko Tensei Isekai, childless reincarnation, blah blah blah. So this is specifically season 1. So when this came out, there was a lot of hype about it, a lot of excitement. I really just didn't care. I watched it. I like the production values. I like the comedy. The sexual humor and degeneracy in this series, I can't really relate to it. I didn't really like it. But that seems to be what tied in a lot of the fan base, which is not surprising. When you look at anime, the type that is very heavy on fan service and borderline pornography, that crowd is very, very degenerate and shameless, and I stay away from those type of people. Anyhow, it has to do with Rudus, a useless NEET who went nowhere in life, got kicked out, got run over by a truck, and got isekai'd into a fantasy world, reincarnated as a baby, but he keeps his consciousness. So he uses this and the fact that he's a child to do perverted things, to touch women and do all kinds of lewd acts, because I'm just a child. I don't know any better. But really, there's a grown man in that head of his. So a lot of it revolves around that. He meets Eris, who starts off as the obligatory tsundere. She when it comes to anime, there's so many tsunderes, it just gets stale and boring at some point. So I was like, okay, here we go again. Here comes the angry girl that I gotta tolerate. But she does develop nicely towards the end and grows out of that stage. Sophia should have never left the show. Should have stayed there throughout. I want to see Sophia again. From there, Rudyard is the character that salvaged the end of the first season. He was the one that made it end strong. Music was mediocre, didn't care for it. Season 2 is out right now. I don't see a reason why this should be hailed as a masterpiece. I don't like it very much. Number 15. Great. 86. 86 is a wannabe Code Geass. It's a wannabe Legend of the Galactic Heroes. It had its high production. It's based on a light novel, I think, and it had a lot of excitement behind it. A lot of people were very excited to watch 86, and unfortunately, it had one of the most terrible beginnings. And why isn't this working? It had one of the most terrible beginnings. I think the first 4 or 5 episodes were just bad. They were just bad. I did not like them. They didn't do anything for me. And why isn't this working? Anyhow, the problem I had with the beginning of 86 is that Melise is extremely ignorant politically. She is very naive politically. Thus, I'm just annoyed at what she does. She's part of the order that controls and exploits and uses the 86 as tools, and she decides that she wants to save them. And her idea of saving them is to be nice to them. It's to be nice to them, to cheer them on, to encourage them, to tell them that I care. And the 86, of course, they see through this and they tell her that you are very politically naive if you think that this is how you're going to save us. And they call her out for her hypocrisy, and they tell her that you have to do more if you are going to try to sincerely help us out. So Melise doesn't really do much about that, and then they spend time kind of showing her getting attached to the 86, and then Shin. Halfway through the series, it picks up and gets much better. I like the whole, just the 86 just kind of stuck on their own in the wild, bumping into the Legion here and there. The Legion is this very psychotic type of group that kills humans and then takes over their consciousness, turns them into their own soldiers. There's an arc revolving that and Shin's brother. You know, the cast of characters, you know, it's nice when they have their, you know, their adventure time in the wilderness. The music, Sawano did the ending. Very, very nice ending, except he ripped himself off and plagiarized himself as he did in the song. I think it's in one of the songs from Gundam Unicorn. I think it's called Echo or something like that. It sounds just like it, but a little different. So Sawano, please stop sounding the same in your so-called hits. But I did not really enjoy 86. At the end, they pretend to kill everybody off, but they're obviously not dead. Season 2 has started, and it's already worse than Season 1. I did not like the first episode of Season 2. The first half was boring. The second I've introduced a little girl that was so obnoxious and insufferable, I could not enjoy the episode at all. I would not recommend 86. I would not recommend any of these so far, except for One Night Party episode 1, because it was actually a good episode. 14, Ore Tsushima. I actually have nothing bad to say about Ore Tsushima. The reason why it's so low is because every episode is about 2 minutes long. Ore Tsushima is the story of a stray cat, a fat, overweight stray cat that wanders into an old lady's house and just sort of goes in and out as he pleases. Demands to be pampered, demands to be spoiled, demands to be brushed. He has demands, and this old lady must meet these demands. Oji-chan, and she loves Tsushima. She loves having him around. She takes care of him as if he was a granddaughter or a grandkid. The episodes are a series of skits of them just kind of like what it's like inside of Oji-chan's house, and the silly adventures that Tsushima gets involved in, and just how exaggeratedly lazy and demanding he is to get pampered. The humor is very good. I love the humor in this series. Good. They have really good voice acting, really good voice actors. I like the voice actors. And music, you can't say much about the music really. So for this 13 episodes, I think that for being 2-minute episodes per week, they did them well. They did them really well. I liked every single episode. Every episode was funny. There was not a single episode that was not funny. That did not bring something to the table that was good writing, good written comedy. It's just because every episode is 2 minutes long. It's like the whole series is just one episode of random sketches done back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I would recommend Ore Tsushima though. You would finish it in a heartbeat. It's funny. I really like it, but I don't think it was. I don't think it was the aim of the staff to make something incredible. It's just a comedy show that it's a good comedy. And of course, I would go and close that. That's great, you know. Okay, let's see. So now that we did Ore Tsushima, we're gonna move on to the next thing. Number 13, The Duke of Death and His Maid. I like this one. The Duke of Death and His Maid has this introduction they do in every single episode where it's kind of like Revolutionary Girl Utena, where the Duke was given a curse where he kills everything that he touches, and the show tells you, what if you could never touch the one that you love? What if you could never hold the one that you love in your arms, and so. And so that is how it starts. The Duke is this broken child that was given a curse that makes his family damn him. He's isolated, left in a mansion to rot. He gets taken up by Rob, the butler, and Rob, to try to make things better for him, gets him a maid, who's Alice, a childhood friend of his that had a crush on him. And Alice tries as much as she does in the beginning. The Duke rejects her, doesn't want her around. He had actually forgotten who she was. Till eventually, Alice is nice to him enough to look. Chipotle, you should be paying me for this. But anyways, it turns out that the Duke does remember Alice, and he remembers that he had a crush on Alice, and they start forming this very strong bond. So this is a romantic comedy, but by the first episode, you already know they're in love with each other. There's nothing really at stake between the love. They're in love with each other. The issue is that the Duke has a curse, and he must break the curse, because if he touches Alice, she'll die. And of course, the gimmick is that Alice is gonna be teasing the Duke, and trying to get him to kiss her, to touch her. And the Duke, he manages to fight off all these urges, even though sometimes it appears that he's going to lose and give in to the urge. Now, this gimmick I was worried about in the same way I was worried about Nagatoro, where if they do it so much, it just becomes stale, not funny anymore. It kind of burns itself out. So what the Duke of Death and his maid did is they made Alice be more extreme about it as the episodes went on, where she's almost gonna strip naked in front of this guy. But I did get the feeling a few times that the joke has kind of run its course and it's no longer funny. The plot, there's actually some plot, though very little. A lot of the episode revolves around the shenanigans of the Duke's sister Viola. She has an old man complexion, and I think that Rob has to be aware of it. I don't think Rob is that much of a fool. Rob just tries to be a gentleman. And then there's Zane. Zane is the best character of the show. The way he talks, though, is he doesn't really fit into the series, but he has like a modern way of speaking that doesn't fit in with the style of everybody else in the series. But he's very funny. He's also very lewd. Calf has the mentality of a 5-year-old. Anyways, there is going to be a second season. And what I liked about this series is that it had a very strong ending, where the entire thing culminates to the Duke telling off his mom about how he loves Alice. He doesn't care that Alice is just a maid, that he will still marry her regardless of what the family thinks, because he loves her. And it was just great, that was a very good moment, very nice moment, a clapping moment for the Duke to stand up to like that to his mom. But the curse must be broken, and the struggle continues. And I will be there to watch. I will be watching season 2 when it comes out. Now, it's slightly above average. It wasn't anything amazing. Number 12, To Your Eternity. I've talked about this series so many times on my channel. All you gotta do is look at all my 2 Your Eternity videos, and I'll tell you exactly what's wrong with this series. I am tired of people praising this like it's a masterpiece, like it is the best show of all time, because it's not. This show is predictable. It uses the same formula for everything. It is predictable. I don't care what A.H. Brandon says. He doesn't know what the word predictable means. It is very predictable. I don't care about other channels, like, what's that one channel? I forgot the name of it. Sea Tactics, that hails this as the number one. No, this show is, I'll tell you why this show is not good. Now, it had a good episode 1. I wouldn't say it was as good as One Direct Priority's episode 1, but it was good. And I find it very funny that it incorporated a very large part of the soundtrack that felt like it only played here. And the first episode, it's still good regardless. It's the kid that gets lost in the snow and meets his dead dog that came back to life because there's an orb. There's a little orb that over millions of years began to take on the life of that which died around it. So it went from a little pebble to a dog to a human to other humans. And so it's a very touching first episode. It's very sad. I very much liked the first episode. After that, it introduces Marsh, the little girl that gets shot with an arrow. That was not a very good arc. The best part about that was when Fushi turns into a giant bear and smacks Hayase in the face. That was the only good thing about that arc. Now, the highlight, the best part of the show was Gugu. Gugu was the best thing that happened to this series, this adaptation. Gugu is this little kid that gets his face smashed by a log and has to wear a mask. He becomes a living flamethrower because of that. He has a crush on the little girl that likes Fushi, even though Fushi has the mentality of a 5-year-old. Anyhow, Gugu is just a very exciting, fun character. They had him there for a while. I thought for sure they were going to keep him and then they kill him. When Gugu died, and he hugs the family, that moment crushed me. It crushed me more than the first episode. Because that was not just the end of Gugu, but that was the end of the show. The prison arc afterwards, completely forgettable, obnoxious, annoying, boring. They introduced Tonari, but they make her character so annoying in the beginning that by the time the series tries to turn it around and make you pity her and feel bad for her and like her, I became so annoyed and distasteful of her that I didn't even want to bother with her no more. I didn't care about her struggle. I didn't care about her past or her dad. And then there's the Knockers. The Knockers are the bad guys, and that they just show up for the sake of the plot. And Fushi fights them and beats them, of course. Even though Fushi can beat these giant stone monolith monsters, he can't beat Hayase. in the stadium twice. Hayase is a terribly written character. I do not like Hayase at all. I don't like her because she's a villain. I don't like her because she's a poorly written villain that makes the series less enjoyable than it already is. By the end, with Pyoran dying, you know, it was nice, you know, and then you get to see an older Fushi laughing at the end, which is kind of strange. So it announced that there will be another season of this, which I'll be watching also. But I mean, besides episode 1 and Gugu's arc, everything else just brought the whole thing down badly. The music wasn't used as well as in the first episode anymore. It fell apart. Ittara's opening, unfortunately, I didn't like it. The ending, I didn't like it. The ending song, I didn't like it. This was average. It uses the same formula for every single arc. Introduce character, kill character, introduce new character. It'll teach Fushi something, then kill character. And then introduce new character. It'll teach Fushi something, then kill character. That's predictable. How can you tell me it's not predictable when you look at it that way? And then you have the black thing, which is what Fushi calls it, the guy with the black cloak, which serves nothing more than a plot device that just does exposition, so that the author can make sense of the nonsense that's happening in the series. And Parona was one of my favorite characters. What does the show do? She goes MIA for a bunch of episodes, and when she comes back, turns out she's dead. They needed Parona there for the show's sake. So yeah, I was very disappointed in this show because it looked like it was gonna be really great on the first episode. It looked like it was gonna come back and be great with Gugu. Then it just crashed and burned. Number 11, the Aquatope on White Sand. I think I want to put this lower after today's episode. So this show is one of those shows that you watch when you just want to relax, not think about anything, be stress-free. Because this show is the story of these little girls that are running an aquarium, and turns out they don't know what they're doing and they can't run the aquarium because it's falling apart. And then they look for a new life in another aquarium, and they get depressed and they have problems with their jobs. It's boring. Nothing meaningful really happens. There's a little kid that runs around that has these magical powers, but 14 episodes in, he's still irrelevant, and nobody knows what he's doing besides running around like a fool. The music is decent though. The first opening was very good. Second opening, very bad. Don't care about the two endings. There's this giant fantasy aspect that this series has, which I find the most interesting part about it, but it rarely ever explores it, which is a shame. I think that would make it seem more interesting of a show than watching girls just kind of eat and then complain about their job for a whole episode. It's just, I mean, I'm gonna finish it, of course, but it does nothing for me. It's just why I don't like slice of life shows, because I mean, they're fun to watch when you want to just relax and look at a little drama show, but they don't offer anything extraordinary, nothing amazing. It's just like this show is like a mediocre massage on my back. That's all it is. Now, do I want to say more about the Aquatope? Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the Aquatope. So we have Fuka. Fuka is a failed idol that was too ashamed to go home like that way. So she moved in. She bumps into Kukuru and ends up getting taken into an aquarium. Kukuru is the director of the Gama Gama Aquarium. Her grandparent is the famous so-called famous director. Now I really wonder who her grandpa is, because he has this very strange personality, like he knows something. Wait, there's more to him than just appearing to look like a harmless old man. I think he knows a lot more about the aquarium than anybody else, but he's not telling anybody yet. I think he's hiding something. I could be completely wrong. It's just what I think. So this aquarium has the ability to give people visions about things that they have inside, like about their own personal issues. The cast does eventually catch wind of that there's something going on with the aquarium in the hallucinations, but they're not able to figure out how it works. And when Kukuru confronts Kai about it, Kai does have a vision, but for whatever reason, he decides to tell her that no, I didn't see anything. Along the way, we reveal that Kukuru has a twin sister that died. I'm assuming she was stillborn or didn't make the pregnancy. But it was known from the beginning because the grandparents had 2 books, and each book is given for each child. So we knew. I mean, people were making theories. Was the vision in the aquarium the future Kukuru, or is it the twin? It was the twin. You know, it was already known. See, and that's why I'm telling everybody that I like this fantasy aspect of it more. It's interesting, like trying to figure out who was that hallucination of Kukuru. Was it the older sister? Was it her in the future? Who was that? You know, the hallucination of Kai with the flashback of Kukuru when they were childhood friends. I want to see more of that, not slice of life. You know, I just, it's, you know, that's what I meant by how that was the most intriguing or interesting part about it. So other than that, you have other characters such as Yakamashi. I can't catch his first name there, but he might be a homosexual. I don't know yet. Karen is one of the older ones that likes to get drunk. Teruya, she is the chef, a really good cook. It's a great wholesome character. Just that she's just like the most minor of minor characters, though. That's how a lot of these characters feel. Kai is somewhere stuck behind there. There are a lot of new characters that got introduced, like the smug Hayabaru, the Yonekura, who's very cute. So I'm really hoping that this series will end strong, but I think the damage has been done. This is going to end up being mediocre. Number 10, Ijiranaide Nagatoro-san. This is another series that had a very great first episode, but the problem is it did exactly what I thought it would do, and it burnt itself out. The jokes stopped being funny. Yeah, I get it. She bullies senpai, and the people that watch the show self-insert as senpai, and they post like, "Oh, I want Nagatoro to bully me," and blah blah blah. Yeah. That's all you like about this show. But it was very funny. But then the gag burnt itself out, and it stopped being funny. The animation went horrifically off model a lot towards the end. Despite that, it had pretty good music. It had some nice tender moments between senpai and Nagatoro, where, you know, those cute moments where they really try to express their feelings to each other. You know, senpai growing out of being a coward and protecting her and complimenting her. You know, this show has it had a lot of potential, but it doesn't develop its plot. From beginning, a lot of episodes just feel like filler. Like nothing really happens. But eventually there's some plot, and they've introduced the president, this giant, overly proportioned woman, and they have this little competition, this little art competition, you know. But the whole thing runs the episode runs as a series of skits, and most skits were just irrelevant to the show, really. So by the end, the progress is just so little. It's like nothing really happened. But it was very amusing. It was very entertaining. So I enjoyed probably the first 3-4 episodes the most. From there, it just went on a downward decline. Number 9, Godzilla SP. So that series was the first. That's the first Godzilla show I actually watched seriously, because I watched Godzilla growing up as a kid, but I never really watched it seriously. But it just so happened that I had to do with the one Godzilla show that is all scientific, because this series, the person that wrote it is very into science and all these theories that are very complicated, almost sounds like pseudoscience. So this series is like a slow cooked meal. As it goes on towards the end, the monsters are appearing slowly, the world is ending slowly, the mystery is unraveling slowly. The two main characters are getting closer to each other, and the possibilities of them meeting are getting more and more near, you know, closely, you could say. but the actual fights with Jet Jaguar and the monsters, it had great fights, very entertaining. Godzilla, when he finally shows up, is very intimidating. Just causes wreckage upon the city. It had a very good last episode. It needed a very good last episode too. It wrapped it up all nicely. But the way this series sets itself up feels like it must have a second season, because it spent the entire first core building up the situation, introducing the monsters, introducing the scientific theories. In the last episode, it's finally been the series is finally set up, and everything is ready to go. Fights are about to get on. Everybody's meeting each other. The monsters are meeting each other. But it's the last episode. Gotta wrap it up, and that was it. I would really like to see a second season, but I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon. But I did like the scientific borderline nonsense. I like trying to figure out the theories, just the mystery of the song and the bones, and at the end they tease Mecha Godzilla. And you have May and Yoon. I would have wished to have seen them interact more. At the very end, they were more like hi-bye. They did have a lot of very awkward conversations online. A lot of people complain that Godzilla wasn't really in this, but I think Godzilla shows tend to be like this. Pelops was pretty cool. I like the AI characters in this series. They're very funny. Way better than that obnoxious bear from Vivy Flourite song. Kanahara did nothing. She was just like the token Goss character. Oh, Goro was despite Goro being an old man, he was the life of the party. He was the life of the episode. He has this very strange dialogue that's very, very ridiculous and funny. I really like this character. This was a very good series. Now, for a lot of people though, they couldn't really take all the science. It was too much for a lot of people. But I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed this series. Though I understand some people feel that it felt like they were being lectured. But it was good. I enjoyed Godzilla SP. Number 8, Vanitas no Karte. Now this show is beautiful. Beautiful character designs, beautiful art, beautiful background, beautiful setting. It's a vampire show, much better than Mars Red, about this sly, flirty, this ladies' man, this sweet talker named Vanitas, who goes around on his mission to save vampires by he's a human, taking on the name of Vanitas and taking on the book. He meets Noe, and they form this love-hate relationship, where by the end, Noe just can't get enough of Vanitas and wants to venture with him. It was hilarious when Noe told Vanitas he wanted some of his blood, because it looked like a confession of love with all the blushing and the awkward conversating, and how Vanitas was playing hard to get and was teasing him at the end. You could kind of tell what the staff meant by the way Vanitas and Noe were written, what they were kind of hinting at. There will be a season 2. I will be looking forward to that. Now Jean is funny because she's supposed to be the Hellfire Witch. She's supposed to be this very serious killer, murderous, bloodlusting weapon. But Vanitas ends up loosening her up with his sweet talk and wooing her so bad to the point that Jean was giving the terrible advice to, I think by Dominique. No, not Dominique, by somebody else. But anyhow, Jean was giving the very bad advice to take Vanitas out on a date, because she thought that Vanitas doesn't want love. Supposedly she overheard him say that. So because Vanitas doesn't want love, she figured if she had a date with him, he'd forget all about her, because that's how he ticks. But it turns out no. Vanitas went all out on this date, just seducing her with words. And even though Jean hated it and Jean didn't like Vanitas, by the end of the date, she realized that she was falling in love with him, and she ends up giving herself away in the end by accident. And it was hilarious when she was practicing about what to tell Vanitas as an expression of love, and Vanitas was here listening to her from behind. He says, "Oh, that was nice of you," and that was nice of you. And Jean then gets really blushed and freaks out in a way. what I'm trying to say is that their Vanitas and Jean's interactions were some of the best parts of the show. Not only that, the vampire sex in this show was very intense, to the point that I find it ridiculous and funny. Just the voice actors moaning with the whole sucking blood, and this show was something else. But it's very amusing. It's very funny, very great comedy. I like when the characters are drawn in a goofy manner. I think it puts some people off, but I think it worked with the jokes. Some characters I didn't really care for though, such as Roland. By the end, it's just Noe telling Vanitas, just the whole switch around. How in the beginning, in the first episode, Noe was threatening Vanitas, and they want to be around him. To by the end, just following him like a lost puppy. The only thing that throws me off is that in the beginning of the series, Noe says that he kills Vanitas at some point. So I'm really curious to see that, what he meant by that, what really happens. Other than that, I don't really have much to say about this show, but it was very enjoyable. Number 7. SSSS.Dynazenon. This is by Studio Trigger. My favorite part about this series is the characters. I love how they explore the characters, the way they are, how awkward some of them are, the way they get together, the way they interact with each other. I didn't really like the actual mecha fighting too much. I think that the characters' development and the character interactions were what made this show what it was. This does have one of the best episodes of the year, episode 10, a legendary show, legendary directing and writing on that one. I do want to give props to episode 10 of SSSS.Dynazenon. Also, there's a very cute couple, Yume and Yomi. Gamma is this 5,000-year-old man that is looking for somebody, and by the end finds out that his dream is not achievable. The little girl with the red hair, people thought she was evil or up to something for the longest time. She might still be, because there is a sequel announced, a Gridman Dynazenon crossover sequel that will be revealed. Yamanaka is the NEET, and it was hilarious watching him interact with Mujina from the Eugenicists. The Eugenicists are these bad guys that don't take themselves very seriously, because they'll fight Gamma and the other kids, right? The Dynazenon. The Eugenicists will lose, and their attitude toward it is, oh, okay, we'll just try again tomorrow, and they walk away. By the end, they do try to seriously kill the cast. Shizumu ends up being the one that was actually a kaiju the entire time. Unfortunately, the Eugenicists get killed off in a very anticlimactic way. I didn't really enjoy that. They do introduce Anti and Second, who are from Gridman. I find it hilarious because the show has fan service, but Second, who is the girl with the most ridiculous proportions to her chest, she ends up in a dressed professionally the entire time. I find that amusing. The humor was great. The music, Sagisu was in it. You know, it was quality. It is a very enjoyable show. There's the mystery of Yume's sister. There is the mystery of the NEET and his classmate who is married but wants to hang out with him. When Yamanaka and Mujina went on their little drunk, looked like a date, little drunk date. That was pretty adorable. Very enjoyable series. It could be a lot better though. It wasn't memorable or anything like that. It was just a nice experience to go through. That's funny that Yume has the most favorites. But it's only my animist list. I don't consider my anime list to be the Bible of what's good and bad. Hardly at all, really. Number 6. Back Arrow. This was a wild ride. Watching Batgirl from start to finish was a wild ride. It was a great experience. This is a work that was done by the combined talents of the writer and director of Code Geass and the writer of Gurren Lagann. Where is Batgirl? Yeah, the name Batgirl probably makes... I think would make it hard to find. I'll put in world. Or they could correct me. Or maybe I wasn't paying attention. Batgirl is a story that takes... It's like a much more fantasy version of Code Geass, where there's the Ling-a-Ling, this planet that is surrounded by walls. Nobody knows what's beyond the walls. Batgirl, which is a play on the word idiot in Japan, crashes and turns the villagers' lives upside down. It's a mecha show, by the way. My favorite part of this series was Shu, who was sort of like Taniguchi's next Lelouch type character. That being the Justice Plan, you know, I have plan after plan after plan, I'm one step ahead of you type character. He's very smart. They pretended to kill him off, which was sad at first, because I wasn't sure if they were trying to show that he had a weakness and that he wasn't perfect, or were they trying to show that he had a backup plan. And it turns out he had a backup plan, a very good backup plan. Bit easily one of the best characters in the show. I called it from way in the beginning that he was going to be given the most character development, where he'd be a brave actual admiral in the end, which he was. He takes control of the biggest mecha in the series, this giant thing combined out of two spaceships. Atlee and Elsha were just there to sell toys. That's basically it. The fan service duo. Zetsu, very very great villain, sort of joins the good guys, ends up sacrificing himself. Kai is the one that had the feud with Shu. I didn't like Kai at first, but towards the end he becomes more respectable. Ren is out of her mind. Prax was great. Then you have who is this? The princess. What's her name? Fine. She was like who was that character in Code Geass? The one that Suzaku liked that shot up that stadium. What was her name? Anyhow, this was that character again. I didn't like her naive, love and friendship will solve everything. I didn't like that. I did love her twisted demonic persona though. That was a very great character, and seeing that character interact with Zetsu was even better. Sola, I remember when Sola shot down Princess Fina and Prax, they didn't explain at first what had happened. So people literally thought that this guy was blind or something, or that he was up to something. But it turns out that the Supreme was the one that had caused a hallucination. The kids are not very memorable at all. These are the lower tier soldiers nobody cares about. The scientist was funny because he had that choir that would sing, and it kind of just hype up the dismemberments and the Vivy sections. What this show had the same magic that Code Geass has, with just incredible plot twists that would just put you on the edge of your seat. Not like Jouran, where they made no sense whatsoever. This show just took you on a wild ride of plot twists, reveals, kills, revelations, explosive character development. Great show. The problem is, it felt like it was directed towards children. It wasn't a very maturely written story. Code Geass was much more mature than this. And even after that, Legend of the Galactic Heroes made Code Geass look like a kid show. So this is, you can imagine if this is lower than Code Geass, what Code Geass would make Batgirl look like. However, it was very enjoyable. I did not like how this ended on a cliffhanger, because this is not something that I think will actually get a sequel. It was not very popular when it came out, and it ended with the characters going to Earth. I'm assuming a modern day Earth. Now that would have been funny to see this cast in Earth, That would like it'd be completely hilarious to see them interact with a with a modern Japan. I would love to see that. Unfortunately, I think that this series would have been better off wrapping it up with a good conclusion, but it wanted to go with a cliffhanger, and I don't really agree with that approach. There's been no talks about a sequel. I don't think there will be. To conclude, though, Batgirl was a really fun, wild experience. Number 5, Vivy, Flourite song. This, I want to put it much lower. The thing with Vivy is that this series has had everything it needed to be anime of the year. Everything it needed. Amazing soundtrack, amazing animation. Now, I didn't like much at all the idol songs besides the opening, but this series had it all. It just failed in one area, and that is its writing. This show has a very messy, convoluted, nonsensical plot that threw in time travel to make it worse. It needed better writing. If this show had done what Odd Taxi had done and had better writing, this easily could have been anime of the year. Unfortunately, that was the one department in the most important department that it lacked in. And I'll say it again, the writing. And that bear would not be quiet. The whole just talking about the mission and too much talking sometimes with this show. That it was just annoying. At the very end, I found it very funny that at the very end, this show tried to go for a Macross, Do You Remember Love type ending, where Vivy sings a song as there's destruction all around. Now, it failed horribly. The ending to this series was bad. It was really bad. It embarrassed itself. Macross, Do You Remember Love? The ending to that is legendary. Some of the best in the entire medium. Vivy's interpretation of it, by trying to do an idol song during the end of this giant climactic fight, it failed miserably. I did not feel any emotion out of it. I did not feel it was executed well. I did not like it at all. But this show did have its moments here and there, like when Vivy goes to that giant metal island and finds that girl geared up to the machinery, and she has to go in there and impale it in the chest. That was pretty good. That's a pretty good episode. And then she loses her mind as an AI. It's just a shame. This could have been anime of the year, but it could have used better writing. Number 4, Batgirl. Whoa, there's a mistake there. I'm surprised I didn't catch that. So that must mean that... Oh. Well, there's an invisible number 4. Gonna have to ignore that. Number 3 is Vlad Love. This is the one... This show got bashed so much. I cannot believe it. This show went over people's heads so bad. It was embarrassing. Vlad Love was the next passion project by Mamoru Oshii, that legendary director from the Skycrawlers, Jinro, Pat Labor, some episodes of Urusei Yatsura. He's just involved with so many good movies. But the thing is, he also writes comedies. And so he did this series. And what people didn't like, come on, 5.95, come on. 9.0 at least. What people didn't like about this series is that they were expecting something deep. They were expecting another Mamoru Oshii deep Jinro Skycrawlers type of show. But no, this is just him messing around with a comedy. He also has a background in comedy. His own fans don't even know that. But the show is hilarious, absolutely hilarious. It's beautifully written, amazing opening, amazing ending. And the more you go through it, the more stranger it gets. There's an episode that reminded me of Angel's Egg, where he just goes completely creepy and surreal and dark in it. The style is it's creepy, you know what I mean? But this is easily anime of the year contender for me. but it got shafted. It got shafted even harder than Back Hero. A shame, because I love this series. It's just so hilariously funny. I should watch this again, because this had a very strange release schedule. They released 6 episodes all at once, and then later on they released 6 more episodes all at once. But the story is about, if I recall, it's about Banba. Banba, I think in the original story was actually a man, but for the series, Mamoru Oshii had him changed to be a woman. Got out some water. Talking for a while. Anyhow, this vampire, that's not her name. What? Maid. Yeah, I knew her name. I didn't even need to do that. All right, so here we go. So Maid goes into a blood donation bus because she needs blood, and she ends up causing trouble there. And that's kind of how she meets Bamba, and Bamba kind of takes her in, takes care of her, falls in love with her. That's what it seems like, and tries to always be with her and take care of her and protect her. There's a user on my Animalist called Single H. Read his review of Vlad Love. That user does it much better than me. But the adventures are hilarious, where Banba is trying to keep Mai on the low, trying to keep her away from the public, and she fails miserably at it, as Mai just can't help but get herself in trouble. And you have a colorful cast of just funny, memorable, lovable characters. All these characters are just hilarious and just so well written. I like Kaoru. She was very creepy. She was a very creepily sarcastic and carefree character. And they go on to just messing around, such as working for a film documentary. There's an episode where a dragon takes over the town and kills everybody. At least it looks that way. Oh, there's just so much good stuff here. You have not watched Vlad Love. I would recommend this more than all the other shows I've already talked about in this video. I think when I get back on, I'm gonna rewatch this. I want to make more videos on this. The videos that I made, I feel, were not good enough. Number 2, Odd Taxi. So by now you should know what number 1 is. So Odd Taxi came out at a time where I felt there was just nothing good coming on. I was looking for all these new series. Everything just looked mediocre. And then I started hearing about Odd Taxi, and people were saying don't watch it because it looks like it's a furry show. Because look at the art. The art is hideous. Don't bother with something like that. I decided to watch it anyways, and I was just blown away from the first episode how well it's written. Rich, great dialogue. It's just very smart. It's a critique of a lot of things, such as the gacha industry. I really loved how they did a critique of gacha. You know, that the character that lost his mind over that SSR pull he got, and tries to kill Orokawa because of it. Had an incredible soundtrack. The villain Yano, one of the best villain introductions, when he bumps into Orokawa on the scooter and does the rap. I think that the writing on his character, I think, fell through in the end. I would have loved to see him have a more dramatic end, like killing somebody while he's rapping. I would have loved to have seen something like that. Unfortunately, no, he just kind of goes to jail. But this is an actual mystery. This mystery puts mystery series like Shadow House to shame. This show is a real mystery. It really makes you just think about, who could be, what's going on, who is the killer, this and that. And then at the very end, it shocks you when it reveals to you who the actual murderer is. Beautiful anime. Every episode was good and memorable. Definitely anime of the year contender. Watch Odd Taxi. Now, do I want to say anything else about this? So the thing about this series is that Otokawa, everybody's an animal, and if you look closely at promotional things for this series, such as music videos and things of that matter, you will see that they do spoil the ending very early on, where they show Otokawa in the taxi looking in the back mirror and the animals turn to humans, because Otokawa had an accident when he was a child where it was either his mom or his dad, I think it was his mom, intentionally drove the car off into a lake or into a body of water, and they all drowned, you could say. But Otokawa survived, but it messed up his brain. He developed a condition that a lot of furries looked up, by the way. But he developed a condition that made him see everybody as an animal. He doesn't break away from this condition till the very end, when he has another near-death experience from drowning. But luckily he gets saved by the long neck, by Shirakawa. Anyhow, this series just is so great, man. I don't think I've made a proper video on it besides my episodes 1 through 6 analysis. I love that taxi. And of course, number 1, my anime of the year, Sonny Boy. Without a doubt, the best show that's gonna be out that's out this year. Also, the most misunderstood show. Also, the show that made me get very, very frustrated with people because they don't get it, and because they simply don't get it, they don't like it. Come on, people! It takes a little bit of thought to try to see what Sonny Boy is about. But the problem is, you got people that are watching Sonny Boy that have never watched anything like it before, and they get confused. They're like, "Oh, this is too different. This is too different from my cute little girl shows. I don't like this. I don't get it." Because Sonny Boy doesn't spoon feed you information. It leaves a lot of it up to your creative imagination, to your own interpretations. A lot of it is told in surreal and mysterious ways. After Sonny Boy ended, I took part in lots of discussions trying to address our interpretations of what happened here, what happened there, because it leaves a lot of loose ends for the viewers to try to put together. This was very well written. But people like the Sea Tactics podcast, they completely dropped the ball on this, and it made me so angry how they just kept complaining that, "Oh, I don't get it. It's gonna be forgotten." No, that was just so bad. So this show revolves around a school of kids that gets transported to a different world, this world. It's like in the middle of a black void. And Nagara is one of the main characters who ends up being one of the ones who develops a lot of character development. He's trying to overcome his pathetic feelings of insecurity, and he does pretty well. Such as in the episode where he finds that guy that these kids that work in this spiral type of stone structure where they take stones to the very top. That showed you he was beginning to show some character development. Now, Mizuho is easily the best character of the show. I really like her character design. She's very beautifully written, very beautifully animated, especially in the last episodes. I think 11 and 12, especially 12. That scene where Nagara and Mizuho are running with that really, really good song playing in the background. That amazing moment. Probably the peak, highest, best moment of 2021 for an anime for me. Along the way, they all actually develop powers. And I should have known for the longest time that Mizuho's cats were gonna have powers. That still took me by surprise that the cats had powers. Nozomi is very confident and smug in the beginning, and she kind of gets put in her place because of that. But she's reaching for a light, but really she's reaching for a hand, and she falls off a cliff and turns to a compass. Asakaze is actually a very nice man, but he gained this power that sort of made him become egotistical, this god complex type person, and he meets Sensei that I think was kind of fueling his corruption till she disappears. Rajahani, easily one of the best characters. See, there are. Let's see. I would say that there are two characters from all of the anime in 2021 that I think were just the best characters I've seen in all the shows. And they both happen to be in Sonny Boy. And one is Rajahani and Mizuho. These are just two very likable, very, very, very memorable characters. If my anime list could be expanded to 20 characters, if I was paying money for it, I would definitely have both Mizuho and Rajahani in it. But Rajahani is the genius, the inventor, the one that studies everything and tries to put things together. He ends up going away for thousands of years, comes back and becomes very in tune with nature. In the end, becomes a forest. Now, is that what he wanted to be? Did that make him happy? I have no idea. I have no idea if that's a good end or a bad end for Rajahani. Yamabiko is the dog that sort of introduces how some kids never make it out of the this world. Hoshi was so smug in the beginning, ends up killing himself, or at least killing his ego. Kadama was that episode that was very disturbing where the kids had these growths because this kid came in and purposely brought over the disease. Cap is the one that did the infamous monkey episode. See, the monkey episode was really good. I love the monkey episode. And I was laughing for this entire season because people were so mad at that episode about the whole monkey thing. And people were dropping the show left and right because of the whole monkey dialogue. It was just so funny how it went over people's heads. That there was a deep message there, and a lot of viewers missed it because they thought, why the hell is this man talking about monkeys for 5 minutes? They didn't understand. This entire series was like basically the monkey episode. People were just so confused because they didn't get it and thought it was bad because they didn't get it. But this series, man, just the surreal presentation, the beautiful background arts, the great fun comedy all throughout. Just the themes explored, the character developments, the interactions, the music easily. Now, Vivy Florida Ice Song, All Taxi, and Sonny Boy all have amazing soundtracks. But in my opinion, Sonny Boy is soundtrack of the year. I don't think nothing else beats it. Oh, I missed I'm supposed to take one of these around this time. But yeah, this is basically my anime of the year. There is an anime out right now called Heike Monogatari that I think will be competition. Could possibly be competition. Excuse me for a second. Alright, so we're approaching the end now. I do apologize for that gap where I accidentally had back arrow there twice. But this is how I rank the all new anime that I watched for 2021 exclusively. This was a very good year in anime for me. Besides this, for this year, I watched Ashura no Jo, all of it. Legend of the Galactic Heroes. I'm finishing up Monster. I watched Textualize, Tatami Galaxy. I watched so much good anime this year, and I still have another 2 months. I might do another video where I rank all anime that I watched in 2021 that is not these, that is from previous years. That'll easily be hours. I don't know how long this video has been going on for. To give you an example, if I talk about Ashura no Jo, that's already like this entire video. What's this? This is at an hour and a half. I can talk an hour and a half about Ashura no Jo, and I could easily talk 2 hours about Legend of the Galactic Heroes, and that's just two series out of the. I watched way more than 24 for this year of other anime that's older, but this was fun. This was the first podcast I'd ever done. I'm gonna do a second one. I'm thinking about doing it on the fall seasonal anime. I have or I could do it to wrap up summer. I don't know. I'll think of something. But this is how I rank all 2021 anime that I've watched. Vlad Love, All Taxi, and Sonny Boy being the top 3. Anyway, that's what I think about all these series. Thank you for watching. Actually, thank you for listening.